Hey guys, this is Matthew Scooby. So I just saw Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and you know, I will say I did enjoy it as a movie. I did enjoy like about 50% of this movie, but at the same time, this movie is actually kind of a letdown in a way. Um, I did like The Force Awakens. I really did enjoy that movie because it was a big setup to what could possibly be in the next two films. And when we finally get some of the reveals in this movie, it's kind of a letdown. I did enjoy this movie somewhat. That doesn't mean I don't have its issues, but I will say that this movie had the potential to be one of the greatest Star Wars films ever. Like, this could have surpassed Empire. And sadly, it actually didn't. Now, again, it's not a bad movie. Completely. um, it is enjoyable. But there's just some things that are just left to major disappointment. One of the, I guess I'm going into spoiler territory here, so if you don't want spoilers, just go ahead and click away. So, first of all, let's talk about Rey's parents for a second. We've had all these theories for the past couple years or so about who her parents were, and that kind of just threw everything, all the theories out the window. They could have gone so many places with her parentage, and it's kind of a major disappointment with where they've chosen to go with that. So, I'm going to explain the scene about sort of the reveal. In the movie, it's kind of hinted in a way, but basically, there is no hint whatever that Luke's her dad in this movie, even though, in my opinion, in the first movie, it was greatly foreshadowed that it was her dad. But clearly, when this movie starts, it's not her dad. And that's not my problem. I don't care that Luke is not her dad. That's not my problem. My problem is we had so many potential characters that could have been her parents. And they took one of the, what would have been one of the biggest reveals, and they just didn't care. It's majorly disappointing because in the scene, Kylo Ren's like, just say who your parents are. Just say it. Just say it. And finally, it's revealed that apparently her parents were just junkies, and they sold her, and they're buried in some desert somewhere. Now, I probably wouldn't have had much of a problem with this if us fans, or most of the fans, hadn't been expecting a lot more out of that reveal. But there is a possibility that maybe Kylo Ren is lying, or maybe they both have a false memory thanks to Snoke, and we'll get to Snoke in a minute. But yeah, the reveal for who her parents are is kind of a letdown. And let me get to Luke. Luke's role in this movie was also disappointing. Now, I'm going to talk about my disappointing things in this movie, then I'm going to get to the things I actually liked about this movie, which isn't too much, granted. Luke's role in this movie was also highly disappointing. I understand why he went to the planet. I understand why he exiled himself. But I just... Luke's entire story in this film is that he's kind of a fallen Jedi who, in a way, redeems himself in the end and becomes at peace with himself. And here's a spoiler if you don't want it. But Luke Skywalker dies, but not in a glamorous fight, which that also is not my problem. My problem is Luke Skywalker's role in this movie was so downplayed, and they had so much potential to use him in this movie that they just again, with Rey's reveal, they just kind of threw that out the window. Uh, Luke had the potential to do a lot of good things in this movie, but unfortunately, they just didn't really want to go anywhere with the story. He does mentor Rey a little bit, but he doesn't really do much. And I do like how Luke is like the new Obi-Wan to Rey in a sense in this movie. I just kind of disappointed with him as a character and how he's ended up, how he seems so what's the word passive of the Jedi. He seems so like he has lost all hope, and I was hoping that would be his backstory in this movie, but I didn't expect for them to take it so far to where Luke would basically do nothing in this movie. He has a few lines, it does a few cool things, and there's one cool scene in this movie. Actually, there's two cool scenes with him in this movie. But I guess I was expecting a little bit more out of Luke Skywalker in this movie. Mark Hamill does a terrific job. He does nothing wrong. It's just Luke's role in the entire film is what bugged me. Now let's get to Snoke. So, the whole thing with Snoke, it never really bothered me, and also never really disappointed me. So this isn't really kind of a disappointment, because I didn't really care for Snoke. I am, in a way, disappointed that his reveal is not, that he's not like a giant, because that's what the holograms made him look like. His projections always made him seem massive. And I was kind of hoping he'd be like this Titan-looking creature from another planet where people are that size. But unfortunately, he's an average-sized person. But another disappointment I get out of this is that we really don't get who Snoke actually is and why he's there. That's the only thing that's bothered me about Snoke this entire time, really, was why is he there? Why does there have to be a emperor figure? And, well, the bright side is they decided not to really go that route, and instead of the Emperor, in this case, lasting until the final film, they just decided to do away with him. So here's the spoiler with Snoke. Snoke is killed in this movie. And it's disappointing, but at the same time it's awesome because we do get a good fight scene out of it. But again, I'm not really sure why Snoke was in this film. He never bothered me as a character. He just bothered me on the fact that he was just there, and they don't really do a good job explaining who he was. And that's it. Let's see. Let's talk about the other things that disappointed me in this film. Oh, where can I go? Where can I go? I can go so many places. So the final thing that actually disappointed me in this film was the overall film itself. I expected a little bit more. Maybe in a way I expected too much out of this movie. In a way, this movie was a redo of The Empire Strikes Back, in a way. But at the same time, at the same time, it was its own story. Kind of like Force Awakens. Force Awakens, in a sense, was a rehash of A New Hope, but it was also telling its own story in a different way. It was reintroducing A New Hope to a new audience. So, the sad part is, this movie is now The Empire Strikes Back to the new generation, if that's what they're going to go with. If The Force Awakens is The New Hope to the new generation, then The Last Jedi is the new Empire Strikes Back. So, there are so many directions they could have gone with this film, and I'm overall disappointed by the final product, by the final telling of the story. And that's pretty much it. I expected a little bit more out of this film as far as storytelling goes, as far as who these characters are, as far as Rey's reveal, and who Snoke is, and the confrontation between Rey and Kylo. Now I'll get to the things that I actually enjoyed about this film, and I'll get to something else that's kind of in the middle of not sure, but the things I actually did enjoy about this film. I did enjoy the action sequences. There actually were some good action sequences, and there's a scene in this movie where Rey and Kylo Ren, they fight side by side, and they do work well together, but unfortunately there is you kind of know it's all for nothing, that Kylo Ren is just going to turn his back anyways, that he wants Rey to turn to the dark side. But what is interesting about this, in a way, both Rey and both Kylo Ren and Luke Skywalker, they all mutually agree that the Rebels, the Sith, the Jedi, and I guess, they don't really mention this part, but I guess the First Order, they all just need to die. In Kylo Ren's mind, I guess he's not really talking about the Empire. He's saying everyone else just needs to die, and that's it. Just let it all end. Let the Sith end. Let the Jedi end. Let the Rebels end. Let it just all end. So in a way, Kylo Ren sees an ending to this. The same thing with Luke Skywalker. There's a constant theme in this film that all of this needs to have an end, but there's a reveal at the end of the movie that this is not the ending. This is only the beginning. And I'll get to that in a minute. I gotta sneeze. Okay. So, I do like that theme in the film, that this is the end, that there has to be an ending, that the Jedi and the Sith need to go away, and the Rebels need to go away, and basically everyone just needs to stop fighting and just go away. Just let them all kill each other. And that was an interesting theme throughout the film. And now I'll get to something else I liked with this film. I liked, oh god, what's his name? Not Finn. Oh my god, I forgot his name. Oh god. He's the character that helped Finn in the first movie, and Finn helped him escape in the very first in episode 7. If you know who I'm talking about, that's who I'm talking about. I don't know why I just forgot his name just now. Anyways, I liked him as a character. I don't know why I forgot his name, but he is, you know, that's gonna bug me because I'm gonna look it up. So yeah, I liked him as a character, and I liked his role with how he plays off with Carrie Fisher's character. Oh, it's Poe. I don't know why I forgot that. So yeah, Poe and her. Poe has a good part in this movie, and his side story is what intrigued me the most out of most of the characters in the film. The fact that he doesn't want the rebels to die out, that he wants the rebels to keep fighting. In a way, you kind of root for Poe's character. Like, he knows that Princess Leia, and he knows that the rest of the command in the Rebel Alliance, they're all making mistakes, and he sees that, and he feels like he's the only person that actually needs to show them, what you're doing is wrong. We need to actually end this. We need to go here. We need to go there. You need to stop hesitating. And yeah, he's a character that I actually root for in this film, and I look forward to seeing him in the next film. So now we got to Finn's part in this film. Finn does more in this film than he does in The Force Awakens. He has a bigger part, and he does end up fighting whatever the Silver Girl's name is. I don't know why I'm forgetting people's names suddenly. I don't feel like looking her up right now. But yeah, I like Finn's part in this film. In a way, I'm not really sure, and I have nothing against the actress, but there's an actress in this film. She's an Asian actress, and I have nothing against it. Her as a character, her as a person. Just not really sure why her character was there. I guess her character was there to support Finn and to show that Finn has fans and that she is a glimmer of hope, that she is representing the people in that galaxy. I guess I just answered the question, but I'm just not really sure why they decided to put this character there and again, I'm going back to what the storytelling actually bothered me was I believe that this part of the movie could have just easily just been about Finn and Poe. Just like, if Finn just went with Poe in the whole film, just the direction he was going, and they helped each other, I think that would have been a good pivotal role for Finn, and that would have been fine. I'm just not really sure why we took his character and we went all the way to look for, I think it's Benicio del Toro, and somewhere else, and here and there. So I guess I should put that on my disappointing list, but I do like Finn as a character. I'm not really sure why this scene was actually there. Oh gosh, I guess I should have talked about that first before I mentioned my favorites. So yeah, I did like Poe's character. I just didn't like Finn's role in this film. Yeah, so there we go. And then we get to Carrie Fisher's character. Carrie Fisher, I'm glad that they actually show her using the Force in this film. And I'm glad that they do her justice. And like, she does really nothing wrong in this film. She's like a good glimmer of hope in this film, and she is something that holds this film together. Regrettably, that she has passed away not too long ago, and it's kind of ironic because Harrison Ford's alive, Mark Hamill's alive, but Carrie Fisher's not. But yet her character is the only one alive out of the three. So I'm not sure how they're gonna play that out. And again, it's sad that she did pass away, but I just kind of find that ironic, in a sense. But I do think she does hold this film together somewhat. And as I said, the action scenes in this film are awesome. Like, they're on the edge of your seat. They are breathtaking. The lightsaber duels in this film, they're fantastic. And there's a great scene in this film. The two great scenes in this film that I enjoy they both involve Luke Skywalker. One is when Yoda reveals himself to Luke. I love that scene so much. That scene made me feel good as a fan to the Star Wars films. I'm glad they did that scene. I wish they played a little more with it. In a way, I kind of wish they showed Obi-Wan or Anakin in this film somehow. But I'm glad they showed that scene with Yoda at least. So, let's get to the final thing I liked in this film. There's a final scene in which Kylo Ren fights Luke Skywalker. And you get basically see how powerful Luke Skywalker is in this scene. Apparently, Luke Skywalker is so powerful, he does not need to physically be there. And that is awesome. I mean, he doesn't really do much damage when he's using the Force in this final fight scene. But it's just the fact that he's so powerful, he does not physically need to be there. And I thought that was a good homage to how powerful he is in the old canon. So I'm glad they showed that scene. At the same time, it was a little downplayed because I think they could have went a little more with it. But that's just me. It could have been a little more, but that's a scene that I actually enjoyed. So now let's get to the final thing in this film. The final thing that I'm not sure if this bothers me, but at the same time it doesn't, but at the same time it does, and at the same time I like it, is there is a reveal at the final shot is a little boy holding the ring, some rebel ring. And apparently it's to show that the rebels still have hope. And as Luke said at the end of the film that the Jedi are not dead, I'm not the last Jedi, there is always going to be another Jedi. Something along the lines like that. So, basically, the ending of this film, the final 10-15 minutes of this film, reveals that the Star Wars universe, the Star Wars story, can go anywhere. Like, at this point. Luke mentions, and Kylo Ren mentions, that even though the whole film says that this is the end, like, this all needs to end, for some reason, both Kylo and Luke acknowledge that this is not the end, this is only the beginning, the Jedi are not dead. And it foreshadows that there's going to be other Star Wars stories in a major way. In a way, what the setup is, it can set up to anything. Like, anything is possible at this point. The Star Wars trilogy doesn't even need to be a trilogy anymore. It can be various different stories of various different characters. It's my sole belief that after Rey and Finn's story and Kylo Ren's story finally come to an end in Episode 9, there's going to be other Star Wars movies, other Star Wars stories that are a reflection on all 9 movies in the past couple years, in the past decade. So, the last few minutes of this film basically foreshadows in a major way that there's going to be a lot more Star Wars films. That's what I got from it, and I think that's what a lot of people got from it so far. And also that little boy with the ring, he apparently was in the Episode 7. He was with Rey, I think. I don't really remember, I gotta look that up. But yeah, anyways, this movie basically just sets up a whole different possibilities for various Star Wars films, and the imagination is so vast at this point because this movie, this entire theme of this movie, is in a way contradicting itself. This whole movie is basically saying, this is the end, we're all gonna die, the Jedi are gonna die, the Sith are gonna go away, the First Order, everyone. But at the same time, they just stop saying, no, this is not the end, this is only the beginning, there's gonna be a whole lot more coming our way. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, because I was kind of hoping there'd be some sort of conclusion to the Skywalker story, to the story of the fallen Jedi from Revenge of the Sith. I was hoping there would be some closure, but for some reason, there is no closure. The story doesn't end. It's going to keep going, no matter what, and there's going to be different stories, different possibilities, and that's what this movie sets up. So overall, what do I think about this film? You know, if I had to scale it from 1 to 10, I would give it maybe a 7. Sorry, I know there are Star Wars fans out there. I'm a Star Wars fan. I wanted to enjoy this movie. I tried to enjoy this movie. And, I almost gave it a 6. For many reasons. As I said, this film is enjoyable, but there are so many issues with it that just bug me. The reveal on who Rey's parents are. It wouldn't have bugged me so much if they just didn't make it so lame. Snoke's role in this movie. He never bugged me, but at the same time, I have no idea why he was there. The entire story of Finn and Poe. I liked Poe's story, but I had no idea why Finn was doing the things he was doing in this film. I wish that Finn was doing the same things Poe was doing. Everything to do with Luke and Leia. I do like the fact that Luke's in this movie, and I like the fact that they show Princess Leia actually using her Force abilities for once. Oh, and Princess Leia is so far the only main Star Wars character to actually be affected by space, apparently. But yeah, I enjoyed Carrie Fisher's role. I'm a little disappointed in the role of Luke Skywalker in this film. I wanted more out of it. I was hoping there'd be more out of it. And in the end, I was kind of hoping that this movie would be a better retelling of The Empire Strikes Back. Because again, we were retelling the story of A New Hope and The Force Awakens. And I was led to believe, not just me, and I hope a lot of other people were, we were led to believe that this would be a retelling of The Empire Strikes Back. Again, maybe I was hoping too much. Maybe I was asking for too much. But at the same time, there's so many plot holes in this movie. There's so many things they could have told, but in a better sense, in a better light. Overall, I did enjoy this movie. It did bring joy out of me. I did like the fight scenes. I did enjoy the characters. Overall, I just did not like the overall story of how this was told. And that's what bugs me as a Star Wars fan. I do like this film, but at the same time, this film is always going to bug me now because of how much hype was built on it. And I think this should be a lesson that should be learned, is to not build up a movie so much to the point where it has so much hype, and when you finally go see the movie, you just end up with like a gag of disappointments and holes everywhere that you kind of wish that this film is something that it's not. The trailers didn't really mislead. There are some teases here and there, but they just did really well at editing, apparently. So yeah, that's just my review. I know people are going to disagree. There are hardcore Star Wars fans out there, and again, people, don't freak out. I enjoyed this movie. I just acknowledge there are issues in this movie. That is all. I want to say one more time, I enjoyed this movie. I just acknowledge there are issues. So, that's all I can say about this film. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to be looking up some more Star Wars reviews to hopefully find out that some of the things I said was wrong, because I want to be wrong. I want to enjoy this film a little more than I actually expected to. Guys, this is Matthew Scooby. I gotta go. Peace out.